Hello guys and welcome to my new video, and today we're going to talk about the most impressive state in America, the state of New York, and all of it, all the trends, all the demographics, and probably can this state be a Republican state in the next 20, 25, 30 years from now. So don't forget to subscribe and leave your like if you like more of these videos. We're going to have election night coverage in America, election day in America. You don't forget, in November 4th, we're going to have election day, gubernatorial elections in the state of Virginia, also New Jersey, also New York mayoral election, New York City mayoral election, and many others like in Boston, in Charlotte, and in many other cities across America, and also the referendum in California about the redistricting that's going to happen there if it does get passed. So about New York, which is the topic of this video, the part of the reason why New York has been changing or has been trending red, at least since 2012, with the Republican candidate in 2012 got a certain percentage across the boroughs of New York City, and also Trump did better and better and better, especially because he's getting better across minorities, and that's a very problematic thing for Democratic Party. Of course, the Democratic Party has been doing great in many other areas like suburban voters, white women, especially people with college degrees. But this is another problem. Minorities were the bedrock for democratic movement. Now you're losing them. You need to understand why, and you need to correct that, especially for the midterms next year. So we can talk about New York without, we cannot talk about New York without talking about New York City. It's the heartland of New York. It's where everything happens. It's where the majority of population is concentrated, because you would think something. Apart from New York City, New York is a considerably conservative state, but as many Democrats say, and correctly, land doesn't vote. People do. So for that very reason, we need to understand where the people are, and people are geographically distributed across New York City, especially across New York City. So we can start with the most impressive place in the world, which is Manhattan, of course. I have placed Queens because it's so small, but it's it has a huge population. Look, Trump got only 17.4%, which you think, okay, it's really bad. It is really bad, but now let's compare with 2016. So you go, Trump got 9.7. So this was a 14 points better for overall margin, but also Trump did better 7 points. So 14 points in only 8 years. And now you would compare the votes margin, because turnout was high in 2024, that was in 2016, that was in 2020. So we suspect Kamala should get more votes, but she didn't. So let's just see here. This was about a 510,000 votes or something. 520. Let's make it 520, if you will. And now let's make it here. This was a 400. I'm reading this correctly. I am. It's now only a 420,000. So from 500 and something to 420. It's huge. This really matter. And you go to here to the Bronx, which was the worst borough for Trump, I think, with only 9.5%. Look at this. Hillary Clinton got a 320,000 votes margin. Kamala got 160, from 320 to 160. That is huge. It's about 150,000 votes just in one single county, which in this case is Bronx County. It's of course a very important borough of New York. And you go here, that was about 81 points. 81 points. No, I'm sorry. And 79 points. And here it was about 50, not even 50 points. So the point I'm making is a lot of people that live here across New York are majority black, or a lot of minorities. You go to the LGBTQ communities, those are voting more Trump, whether you like it or not. You need to recognize that. And you know the problem, so this is the problem for the Democratic Party in New York. You need to understand the solution. So the Democrats need to encourage those people to vote more. And especially, you should not I would say this, you should not underestimate the power of those people not to vote for your party, because the Democrats, I'm going to say my opinion, I want the Democrats to win in 2026. So I'm going to be, even though I'm not a Democrat nor I'm a Republican, I'm not from both parties. I'm considered a moderate, so I think both parties have great qualities. Both parties have not so great. So what I'm making here the point is, even though I want the Democrats to win next year, I would say that the Democrats need to focus on the problem, need to focus on the solution. Right now, they're not getting that. At least from 2020 until 2024, you got a lot of differences. You got a lot of problems for the Democratic Party, if you will, because demographics change, and now you have a lot of states, like democratic leaning states, that are getting smaller number of electoral votes, and this will matter in 2030 when the census are going to happen. But what I mean by this is the problem is not rural people in New York voting more Trump, because they are, but it's not a huge significant number because this is a very small portion of the state. What you're seeing here is the majority of people in New York City are turning to be more Trump. I just want to say something about Nassau County, because this is a very big county. Look at this. More than 700,000 votes in Nassau County. Almost a million votes, if you will. And this is about a 4 points. So you're thinking, okay, 4 points doesn't matter. Clinton won here by 6. This is a 10-point shift. I'm sorry, it's a 10-point shift in only 8 years. And now you think, okay, well, what about in 2020? It was 10 points in 2020. So Biden won by 70,000. Trump won by about 30,000. So this was 100,000 people that shifted, or some of them didn't vote, but let's just check the turnout because it could be important. So here it was about 720,000 votes, and here it was, let me just make the calculation, 722, I'm sorry, I'm just getting a little bit of a trouble. 706. So the turnout was only 16,000 votes less, but only. It's always significant to have less people voting. But here it was critical to Trump to do better. Trump only lost to say by 11 points. I mean, only why? Because Clinton won by 22.5, Biden won by 23, and now you're thinking, what is happening to Democratic blue states? We're going to talk about New Jersey in the next video, especially when we're going to talk about the New Jersey gubernatorial race as well, because Kamala won by a very small margin, only about 6 points, while Biden won by 17 or 16, something like that. So you need to understand, you need to ask yourself, what's happening to the Democratic Party in urban America? I don't mean the rural parts, I don't mean the suburbs. They're doing great there. You can see the suburbs in America have shifted a lot in the last few years. But what's most important is what's happening in New York State. New York was one of the most blue states. It's still a blue state. You cannot say anything about that. Even though you can go here to New York in 2022 when Lee Zeldin was very close to win the race. I mean, very close, 6 points. 6 points in New York. It was Biden by 23 or something. So you need to understand this. This is huge. And look at Nassau County. It was 11. So this is a very important county. The suburbs decides close presidential elections, and also gubernatorial and also House elections, because they basically are the ones who are going to choose the winner. And you go here to these very two big counties, Suffolk and Nassau. Those are very important counties for the Republicans. The Republicans need to net a lot of votes, because when you go to New York, you go to Manhattan, you're going to go to Queens, you're going to go to Brooklyn, Bronx, now Staten Island is Republican, so it doesn't matter. But you're going to go to these 4 counties and also Western County. Those are very important places for Democrats to round up the vote. So Lee Zeldin got 100,000, and here it was about 50,000. So it was 150,000 in those 2 counties. That is huge because it can compensate, for example, Queens and a little bit of Bronx. But even if Manhattan and Brooklyn are still huge. So Trump still is doing very, very bad in those places. You can go to Bronx, Trump got 27. You can go to Queens, Trump got 37. But look at this, 37 to 22. 37 to 22 is 15. It's about 30 points. 30 points overperformance in only about 8 years. Then you go to the gubernatorial race. Lee Zeldin lost by got 37. Trump got 37 as well. So it was mostly the same in Queens, at least. Trump did a little bit better as well. But Queens is also a very important part because it's the suburbs. It's starting to be suburbanized, because here you have the urban part of New York, also close to Manhattan. You have a bridge there as well, also across Brooklyn. And then you go to this part, it's starting to be more suburbanized, and you get a lot of people. You get a lot of people that are there are suburban voters and they tend to vote Democratic, at least they're trending to vote Democratic, but we need to be very careful at doing some assumptions because this could change very dramatically. I'm not saying New York is going to flip, I don't believe that, at least in a very long period, but we need to be very careful. The Democrats need to do better. They need to do better in their performances. They need to encourage black voters as well as LGBTQ communities, to encourage people to vote, because the minorities are the bedrock of the Democratic Party. You cannot lose black voters like they lost in 2024 with Kamala Harris, even though she was black. So she was one of the reasons why the Democrats did so poorly. I was thinking she would have done better. She could have done better, I think. And she was not a very terrible candidate, as many people are saying. I think if she would have enough preparation or enough people behind her, she would have done a better job probably even defeating Donald Trump. Even though I never believed she would have, but I think she would have done it if she had people behind her to do better decisions as well. When she was asked about would have done something different than Joe Biden, she said, I don't remember anything up from my head. So that it was not a very great question. But never mind, this is just the past, doesn't matter. I'm not going to go to the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, also a very important state, the most important state in America, at least according to the Electoral College. But now what I'm thinking is you're going to have New York mayoral elections, New York City mayoral elections in 2024 and 5, with Zohran Mamdani is expected to win. What should you know? Zohran Mamdani is very strong here in Brooklyn and also across Queens. Queens and Brooklyn are the two boroughs where she's the strongest. Andrew Cuomo won Bronx and won Staten Island, so we should have known that it's going to be very important to see if Zohran Mamdani is going to win all of the boroughs in the election, because we're going to have Andrew Cuomo, we're going to have Curtis Silva, we're going to have also Eric Adams, and then, of course, Zohran Mamdani. So 4 candidates in New York battling for a victory, even though I think Zohran Mamdani has a huge advantage in comparison of the other candidates. And what should you know about that race? Zohran Mamdani, even though you might not like him, but he has a huge ability to turn out voters. He's a machine at winning elections. He's a machine at turning out voters. He's a very great politician. Being a politician doesn't mean you like your ideas. I'm not discussing that right now. I don't care about that, to be honest, in this channel. This channel is about analyzing elections, demographics, electorally speaking. I don't care about politics in this channel. Even though the channel is about politics because we're discussing politics, but I'm going to do an analysis. I'm not care about it, whether the candidate was defending abortion or something. I don't care about that. That is not the point of this channel. So even though you may not like Zohran Mamdani, he's a very good politician and turning out voters, winning elections. That's most of what the Democratic Party needs. If he's the answer or not, that's up to you guys to decide. It's not up to me. I'm just here telling you what I think about demographically speaking, not politically speaking. You can say whatever you want about Zohran Mamdani, but he's gonna win. He won the Democratic nomination, even though he didn't have the support of many of the establishment or most of the establishment. So we'll see in November who's gonna win. So thank you for watching this video. I hope you liked it. Don't forget to subscribe and leave your like, and see you in the next. Thank you.